That is a big part of our whole psyche. So if you have any interest in getting a new vehicle, go down to Royal Gate and they will absolutely take fantastic care of you. So tonight, I want to talk about the NFL situation, and what I want to do, though, is to move this into a conversation eventually about cultural sensitivity, so people can have whatever opinions about Colin Kaepernick specifically and about the protests in the NFL in general, but the reality is that this is not something that is happening in a vacuum. There's a reason why this is happening, and it's important for us as individuals and specifically on this show for us to understand what's going on behind the scenes. It's not just what the talking heads are putting out on the individual networks that are coming from a specific political or personal agenda. So I want to talk a little bit more about what is going on and why it's going on. And as you guys remember, last week we had Dr. Marvin Berkowitz on the show, who is a big hero and has been a tremendous influence of mine. We were talking about some of the political unrest that's been going on in St. Louis and trying to come to some conclusion about what could be done there. And I think we had a great conversation. And I want to carry that over again this week and talk about this NFL situation. But the idea would be that let's come to let's have a conversation about a solution, not just a conversation about what individuals' opinions are. Now, again, if you have an opinion, I'm not against you sharing that opinion. But what I hope is that we can all agree to come to a resolution. So to come to a resolution, my idea is, or my belief is, and what I talk about on the show all the time, is that science matters. Science matters for a reason, because through science we are able to uncover truths. But a lot of times science gets reported in ways that are misleading. So, for example, most of us have probably heard that drinking a little bit of red wine is good for your heart. Have you heard that, Frank?
There's a study out every week saying that. Something about that, something about chocolate, all those types of things.
Right.
Yes.
Now, I don't care what any of these studies say. Well, actually, I do. I know what these studies say because I actually read the scientific studies, and there's never been a scientific study that says that red wine is good for your heart.
But the TV said that.
But the TV does say that, because what the study says is that there are certain chemicals in the skin of a grape that are antioxidants that are very good for your heart. But alcohol, the chemical itself, is poisonous to all cells in the human body. So there isn't a single cell in your body for which alcohol is good. Every time that a cell comes in contact with the chemical alcohol, it dies. So alcohol kills cells. And think about it. If you were in the desert and all you had was a bottle of tequila and you cut yourself, you would pour the tequila on the cut to disinfect it.
To kill things.
Exactly. So it works the same way in your body. It doesn't work differently when you put it in your body. So there's no beneficial effect to alcohol itself. The benefits are from the skin of the grape, which is used to produce the red wine. And so that would be true whether you drank grape juice, whether you ate grapes. You would get the same beneficial effect, but it's sexier to say, oh, drink a little bit of wine and that's good for you. But there is no benefit to the process of fermentation.
So it's just an easy headline to put out there.
Right.
Sure.
And I mean, it makes people feel good. Oh, yeah, I like to drink a glass of wine every night, so now this gives me an added excuse to go out and drink a glass of wine. Now, I'm not trying to poo-poo drinking a glass of wine. If you want to have a glass of wine with dinner, I'm totally fine with that. I'm pointing out that things that are reported oftentimes are misleading and don't report the entire story. So in that way, I had a very, well, I don't want to say disturbing. I had an interaction with another professional that I know in the field that I work, which is psychology, who said something to me that I thought about and was a little bit disturbed about. So we were talking about the NFL protest, and I try and understand things before I open my mouth. Now, my wife would tell you differently, but as a rule, I try and have an informed opinion about a thing before I say anything. So this Colin Kaepernick deal I'm going to talk a little bit about tonight. I guarantee you there is no one on the face of the planet that can, with any credibility, tell you that I have ever released my opinion about Colin Kaepernick's protests in the NFL. And the reason is because I have very deliberately not said anything about it because I haven't been, number one, well-versed on the subject, or number two, thought about it enough to actually draw a conclusion, an informed conclusion that I was ready to share with anybody. So I haven't made any comment about it. I'm going to talk about it tonight because I have done a little bit more research about it, and I am ready to release an opinion about it, but I haven't yet. But I was having this conversation with this other professional, and the reason is because whenever I don't understand anything, I try and go to the original source. So as a result of the conversation that I had with Dr. Berkowitz last week and some other things that I've been thinking about, trying to think about a conclusion that could help resolve some of the unrest, some of the animosity that exists between the protesters and everything. Been thinking a lot about that, was having some conversations with some people, had a conversation with a gentleman that I know who is African-American, who has really helped me out to understand issues in the African-American community, helped me understand the OJ situation way back in the day, and so has always been a tremendous resource for me. But he's a guy that doesn't really like to be in the spotlight. So I asked him to come on the show, and he's like, no, Mike, yeah, you know, that's not me. I don't really like the spotlight. But we were talking about it. And the thing that he had said to me was that what really got people in his community upset wasn't that there were protests in the NFL, or even that the president didn't like the fact that there were protests in the NFL, but that when the president tweeted the SOB comment, that in a lot of people within the African-American community interpret that to be a derogatory comment about their family and specifically their mothers, and that's something that is not okay in African-American culture. Now, I didn't even, I mean, I know that, you know, you're not supposed to talk about somebody else's mom, but I didn't realize how much that was troubling to people in that community. So when I talk about this idea of cultural awareness, this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. I didn't realize that that was as inflammatory as it is. So when I was having this conversation with this guy, he was telling me how inflammatory it was, and then I have to accept that because that's his perception, and an individual's perception is their reality. So I was having this conversation. This was the conversation I was having with this other professional. I was talking to him about it, and I was saying, you know, I was talking to this guy that really helps me understand the African-American community better, and he was talking about how the SOB comment really was inflammatory. And this other professional said to me, well, that's not how the president meant it. And when he said that, as he was saying it, I found myself thinking, yeah, he probably didn't mean it that way. And I had to catch myself. Because here's the thing. If I go on the radio and I say, I'm a 53-year-old white guy, so I speak for all white guys, most people would say, Mike, that's crazy. You can't say that. But I see in this situation a lot of people who have an African American come on and say, well, I speak for the African American community. That's not really true either. right? And what I'm wondering is, does anybody know anybody who actually speaks for everybody? If you think that it's you, then what I know is you're wrong. If you think you know anybody who speaks for everybody, then I know that you are wrong. Nobody speaks for everybody. So the president speaks for himself, but people hear that message and they interpret it for themselves. And whether or not the president meant it that way, I'm not judging the president because I don't know the president. I don't have access to the president. I'll tell you what, if the president wants to come on Psych with Mike or wants to call me personally, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with him. But I don't have access to the president. I'm not going to call the president on the phone and ask him what he meant. But what I do know is that the African Americans that I have spoken to personally who were offended by that comment were genuinely offended. So whether the president meant it that way or not, people interpreted it as being offensive, and that's real to them. And here's my issue with that, is that as a professional, as a clinical psychologist and a licensed psychotherapist, I've had to go through, I can't tell you how many hours of cultural sensitivity training. If I am culturally insensitive, people can call the state and report me, and I can be censured or even lose my license, my ability to practice and make money to feed my children because I am culturally insensitive. If a clinical psychologist in Missouri is required by law to be culturally sensitive, why doesn't the president have to meet that same standard of behavior? I would argue it's way more important for the president to meet that standard of cultural sensitivity than a clinical psychologist in Missouri. But we're not having a conversation about whether or not that was appropriate or not, or whether or not even people have the right to be upset or inflamed by the comment. And I find that to be interesting, that we're not recognizing that people have the right to be upset, that we're talking about this whole idea that, you know, people get to choose to say, well, if you don't stand for the national anthem, that is now offensive to the military, when most people who are saying that, I don't think probably have ever served in the military. Okay, so that sets the standard for what I want to talk about tonight. We're going to come back after the break and talk a little bit about the actual Kaepernick protest, and we'll take the calls. Okay, be right back. So if you want to get a hold of us, area code 314-969-9797, 866-455-9797.
Hush, my darling, don't fear, my darling, the lion sleeps tonight.
Talk lines are open now, 314-969-9797, or toll free 866-455-9797. Follow Mike on Twitter at Psych with Mike. Look for the 97.1 Freedom Fleet out and about this summer in the St. Louis region. Check out the list of events at 971talk.com and ask for a sticker when you see the 97.1 Freedom Fleet, powered by Dent Devil of St. Louis, professional cosmetic car care.
Hey guys, Glover here for Brook Linen. Chances are that you have either purchased sheets and linens in the past and have been confused or maybe even defensive about it because it seems like they're trying to take advantage of you with thread counts and this kind of cotton and that kind of cotton. So two very normal people, not in the business, Vicky and Rich, spent the night a few years ago at a hotel, loved the bedding, tried to buy a set, and they said, sure, it's $800. So they went and researched this business and found that you're pretty much being taken advantage of just like you thought. I recently received a complete set of Brooklinen sheets. They're on my bed. I absolutely love them. Brooklinen.com has an exclusive offer to just my listeners. Get $20 off and free shipping when you use promo code Glover at brooklinen.com. In fact, they're so confident that you're going to love the new sheets that they will offer you a risk-free 60-night satisfaction guarantee and a lifetime warranty on all of their sheets. So for $20 off and free shipping, use promo code Glover at brooklinen.com.
It's Royal Gate's Red Tagged and Ready sales event. The area's largest Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram inventory is being red tagged with incredible deals. 1,000 total vehicles. Deeper discounts? Grab the tag. 0%? Just grab the tag. Top tier trade cash? You know what to do. We compete and will beat any other dealer on a new vehicle. Plus, at RoyalGateCars.com, you can get instant credit approval and set your monthly payment. Now's the time to get deeper discounts, 0%, and top tier trade cash. All you have to do is grab the tag. Come see why we're #1 for all the right reasons. 2 Royal Gate locations, Manchester Road in Ellisville and in Columbia, Illinois, just 5 minutes from South County. Or online at RoyalGateCars.com.
Royal Gate, the driving force.
For your convenience, Royal Gate has extended service hours with full service on Saturdays. A Ram Power Days event. Rate, term, and down payment will vary with approved credit. Negative equity added to new contract based on combined inventory. Combined MWBC year-to-date 2017 sales report.
The news.
What's been happening today?
Trying to work things out together.
Protect our nation's dreamers. But you have the border closed.
The catastrophe.
Trying to clean up and rebuild.
Dysfunctional healthcare system.
The rates are too high.
The talk.
Because there's lots of issues that we have.
And the place where it all happens.
Epic, historic.
St. Louis's FM News Talk.
I'm definitely concerned.
Staying informed now more than ever.
FM News Talk 97.1.
Talk lines are open now. 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797. Now, more Psych with Mike on FM News Talk 97.1.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired.
Welcome back into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios. So that was the comment that the president made. Now, originally that comment was said in the context of a political campaigning stop that he made. And when I had first heard that comment, my initial impression was that that was kind of an offhanded throwaway comment that he made for an applause line. And I'm not sure how much that he himself were really married to that until the firestorm came out and people were saying, oh, this is not good, and people were calling him out on it. And then, as is the president's modus operandi, he doubled down on what he said. And so I have to take him at his word that what he said is exactly what he meant. And so we're talking about, do people have the right to be upset about it? I do want to get back into the Colin Kaepernick original story of how this stuff all got started in the NFL. But before we do, let's go to Wade. Hello, Wade. How are you?
Good evening. How are you doing? I just caught your show and I caught the topic. And first off, let me clarify something. I'm a man who's married to a black woman. I have black in-laws. I have a lot of black customers, obviously. I'm a cab driver. And, I've got some knowledge on the subject. There's things about the black culture that are very monolithic in nature. I've seen it now. I've seen it in action for the last 13 years. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Here's the hypocrisy of it that really bothers me about this whole thing. How can you possibly be upset about the term SOB when MFer is thrown around constantly and at each other? I mean, mm-hmm. I would think that one is a tad more insulting or derogatory than that. And if you give me a second, I also believe I have a cure for racism in our country.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. The cure is this, is that as a culture, everybody, every man, every woman, every sex, sexual preference, race, creed, color, everybody agrees on a set of standards. Mm-hmm. Let's act like ladies and gentlemen again. If people can't act like that, then there's some form of ossification. I know it sounds bizarre. I know it sounds harsh, but that's how you get rid of it. There's no race involved at that point. It's nothing but standards that we as a people collectively agree on.
Right. And I agree 100% with that way. The issue would be who gets to be the person that ends up making or setting the standard for what those expectations of how we're going to treat each other.
Wasn't that agreed on a long time ago? Essentially, I mean, I'm sure you can follow a code somewhere of what ladies and gentlemen. And I think that you can act like a lady and be a lesbian or a gentleman and be gay. I mean, we're sexy. It doesn't matter.
Right. No,
I think that those are standards that as a society, if we rediscover them,
I
can all agree upon.
No, I agree with that 100%. So when we had Dr. Berkowitz on last week, that was one of the things that we discussed was that when I was young, I'm 53, and when I was young,
we're about the same age. I'm 52.
Yeah, we actually went to what were called civics classes, where we actually sat and handed each other a pencil and said, "Oh, may I have a pencil? Thank you for the pencil." And that was a part of what we did.
Bring that back. That makes complete sense.
Right. And then in the 70s, there was this whole idea of value-free education that came in and said, don't teach people that because they have the right to discover their own value system. So I understand both of the sides.
That is so off the rails. That's when we started to go off the rails. That's when political correctness took over. And I'm telling you, political correctness is a poison that is both just nullifying and paralyzing our culture.
Right.
It's stopping the free expression. I even go so far as constantly using the term African American. How can that possibly be a term that you can apply to a whole race of people when you've got people who are British and black or French and black?
Yeah, there's no question.
Now African British, it's insane.
Right. Thank you, Wade. Appreciate it.
Take care.
So I liked a lot about what Wade was saying. One of the things that really resonates with me is this idea of, well, if they're going to use the term MF or use the N-word regularly, then how can they be upset because somebody's saying SOB? I get that, and I have clients African-American clients who come to my office and use the N-word all the time, talking about other people in their lives and things like that. And it makes me, I'm not going to lie, uncomfortable when they do that. But it isn't my place to judge that. If somebody says, I can use this word, but I don't like it when you use that word, they get the right to do that. Now, I can say that I disagree or that the way that you use language makes me uncomfortable. We can both talk about how we feel, but I would not judge them, and I would prefer that people not judge me for the way that I use language. That's the point, is that we have to get out of the position of judgment. Now, even if we're going to say, let's get out of the habit of judging others, I agree with Wade. There has to be at some point some kind of standard of what is acceptable behavior and what isn't, but who gets to be the person who gets to make that decision? Like I said, is it going to be me? It's not going to be me, I know, because I'm not going to do it. But who's going to have that job? I think it's really, really difficult to make those kinds of decisions. So let's see what Clint has to say. Good evening, Clint.
Yeah, I'm hearing a whole lot of psychobabble here and all this sensitivity. And
well,
so forth.
it is Psych with Mike, Clint.
And the previous caller was quite right about, in fact, the black culture has pretty much ruined the word mother. MF has been shortened to mother, unfortunately. When we get right to the heart of the problem, Kaepernick is basically a communist. He's a Castro sympathizer. 9 out of 10 people are basically voting communistic nowadays. So,
what do you base that on, Clint?
Barack Obama was basically a communist.
Okay, what do you base that on?
Facts.
What facts?
Reality.
What reality? If you can't tell me, okay, Clint, whoa, slow down, Clint. This is the premise of the show. If you can't, whenever I put something on the internet, whenever I come at you with some kind of information, I can always back that up with science or with at least some kind of reference. So if you're going to come at me and say that Colin Kaepernick supports the Castro regime or that Barack Obama is basically a communist, you have to tell me why you believe that. If you can't, then that's out of bounds. Okay, thanks, Clint. Okay, so again, let's make sure that we understand here that if you're going to talk to me about what you believe, that's fine. If you say, look, this is purely an opinion. I thought that a lot of what Barack Obama did was socialistic in nature, then I can say, okay, I either agree with that or I disagree with that. But if you're going to tell me that the man's a communist based on facts, based on reality, but you can't quote me a fact or give me an example of any reality, then that's not okay. That might work for, if you call Sean Hannity, not to throw a name out there, that might be okay for them, all right? But that's not going to be okay on Psych with Mike. I give you facts. I give you the resources for the facts that I quote. If you can't do the same thing, then tell me it's an opinion, and we can either agree to disagree or we can agree to agree. All right, I definitely want to talk to Dave. How you doing, Dave?
Hey, good evening. How are you, Mike?
Doing great.
I'll take you off speakerphone. I appreciate your information. I like listening to you. You guys have a pretty good show, a very unique perspective.
Thank you.
Personally, I'm a combat veteran, served Gulf War, 93, second tour in Turkey, working with the Kurdish refugees, KKMC. I don't care for the NFL taking a knee.
Mm-hmm.
I quit watching NFL back when that fellow that did all the dog, or that fellow that was beat up on his wife, let him back in the league, and that guy who pulled the dog's teeth out so he wouldn't maim his dogs and let his dogs chew up on him. I forget his name, but I got 5 nieces and a daughter. I'll be damned if I let someone like that, entertain me. I won't buy a thing from them.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, these guys, they're taking a knee, have this freedom to do so, because guys like myself, guys like my brothers have sweat, have bled, and many have died for that privilege.
Right.
That being said, I will not support it. And I kind of look a little bit funny for people who do, because the very reason that they got these rights is because guys like me. And the whole damn thing about the Star Spangled Banner, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but my understanding, Francis Scott Key was in a damn British ship back in 1814 during the 1812 war, watching to see if we're going to win that damn battle or not. No reason that the freaking red, white, and blue was still standing.
Right.
Guys like me paid the price.
Right. And
people
so
are taking a damn knee.
Right. And Dave, this is exactly why I wanted to talk to you, because I actually feel very sympathetic towards your position that when they take a knee, that you feel like that's offensive, and the reason why they have the right to do it is because you went to war. I agree with that 100%. So then but there's another part of me that says, but if we hadn't back 220 years ago, 240 years ago said, we don't like the way things are going and staged the Boston Tea Party, we would all be English citizens. So the whole reason that the United States exists is because we believe so strongly in an individual's rights and a group of people to say, we don't like what's going on. And when we don't like what's going on, we're going to protest it. And we want other people to respect our right to be able to protest.
I understand, and I do respect their right. Just as I stated, they got that right because guys fought for them to have that right.
Right.
That being said, Richard J. Mills, Jonathan Berry, Franklin Humphrey, those are 3 of the guys. One of the guys I went to high school with. Those guys died paying these price. Now, I don't know if you know anybody like that. If you had an interest, if you've seen guys die in combat, it maybe flavors you a little bit different. That's just my opinion. I agree with every word you said there. I got to jump over to your cultural sensitivity. I agree. Presidents should be more sensitive. No one should be offended. I need to get your take on President Obama's words, not what he said, but his writings. White people's greed runs the world in need. How on earth is that not insensitive? And he didn't say it; he wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
How is that sensitive? How could that be interpreted as anything other than against a full race? And incredibly insensitive.
Yeah, I would not in any way defend that statement. I think that there are things that every president probably throughout history has either said or written that can be interpreted as insensitive. And everybody has a right to judge those comments for themselves and say, I didn't like that. I mean, I believe everybody has the right to do that. Now, what I do think is that right now that President Trump is acting in a way that is culturally insensitive and is intending or is continuing to do that, even though people are saying that they feel like that is insensitive. I feel like that when Barack Obama was called out for being insensitive, that he at least tried to say, okay, I understand that, and I would like to do better. Now, Donald Trump can do that or can choose not to do that, but I believe that the president has to be held to a higher standard. I didn't like everything that Barack Obama did. I don't like everything that Donald Trump did. I do like some of the things that Donald Trump is doing, and I did like some of the things that Barack Obama is doing. I just judge things on their merits, but I do believe that the president has to be held to a higher standard than I myself as a licensed psychotherapist.
I agree. When did President Obama backtrack on that statement? Do you have any idea, just as a reference?
No, I don't, and that's what I'm saying. But I do know that when he made the comments about his friend, the professor, who was roughed up by the police, after he went public with those comments, he did come out and say, I can understand how that was insensitive, and I'm going to try and do better in the future. So I did hear him talk about that. The specific statements that you're talking about, I did not hear him ever refute.
Mike, appreciate your time. You got a very good program.
Thank you. You have a great night, sir. Okay, we've got to go to our second break. We are going to continue to talk about this after we come back. If you want to get involved, area code 314-969-9797, 866-455-9797. Be right back.
You realize the sun doesn't go down. It's just an illusion caused by the world.
Talk lines are open now. 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797.
Weather. Clouds take control today. Chance of a couple of spotty with Fox 2 meteorologist Dave Murray.
Brought to you by Air Comfort Service. 0% financing and factory rebates, plus utility rebates on a new HVAC system. Details at aircomfortservice.com.
It's Royal Gate's Red Tagged and Ready sales event. The area's largest Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram inventory is being red tagged with incredible deals. 1,000 total vehicles. Deeper discounts? Grab the tag. 0%? Just grab the tag. Top tier trade cash? You know what to do. We compete and will beat any other dealer on a new vehicle. Plus, at RoyalGateCars.com, you can get instant credit approval and set your monthly payment. Now's the time to get deeper discounts, 0%, and top tier trade cash. All you have to do is grab the tag. Come see why we're #1 for all the right reasons. 2 Royal Gate locations, Manchester Road in Ellisville and in Columbia, Illinois, just 5 minutes from South County. Or online at RoyalGateCars.com.
Royal Gate, the driving force.
For your convenience, Royal Gate has extended service hours with full service on Saturdays. A Ram Power Days event. Rate, term, and down payment will vary with approved credit. Negative equity added to new contract based on combined inventory. Combined MWBC year-to-date 2017 sales report.
The Financial Symphony is a show that blends the worlds of music and finance together in one harmonious package. It features your local financial maestro, Jerry Means.
A lot of advisors out there are mainly giving accumulation advice or looking at the growth through your working years. You really need to take a look at, is your advisor giving you advice on preservation and distribution?
That's the Financial Symphony with Jerry Means, Sunday mornings at 9 on FM News Talk 97.1.
This is it. The final days of Diamonds Direct's spectacular 5-year zero-interest offer. Don't wait any longer. You have until Saturday at 6 p.m. Pick any piece of jewelry and spread your payments over 5 years with zero interest. Like a $5,000 engagement ring for less than $85 a month. Or a $10,000 three-stone ring for just $167 a month. But you must hurry. This once-a-year offer ends Saturday and will not be extended. 5 years, zero interest, exclusively at Diamonds Direct. Olive in 27 on approved credit.
Contractors, meeting with your customers can be difficult. Making time to actually sit down and go over product and color selections is tough when your suppliers close by 5 p.m. every day. Only Arrowhead Building Supply has your solution. We've built mind-blowing, beautiful showrooms that are professional and convenient. We now have new store hours until 8 p.m. weekdays and noon on Saturdays. Arrowhead has also built private contractor presentation rooms for you. These feature large LED televisions and product video libraries, so you can show your customers how products will look and what to expect. ArrowheadBuildingSupply.com.
Hi, I'm Jay Ashcroft. Here at the Secretary of State's office, we take the integrity of our elections seriously. Last November, Missourians agreed and passed Constitutional Amendment 6. Missouri's new photo ID law is now in effect. Have questions about the new voter ID law or need to register to vote? We're here to help. Visit showittovote.com or call 866-868-3245. Remember, if you're registered to vote, you can vote.
Sponsored by the Missouri Secretary of State's office.
The Mark Cox Show.
Monday, an Illinois man says union dues violate his constitutional rights. The Supreme Court will now hear the case. And we'll dig through new details on the president's tax plan.
Now weekdays noon to 3 on FM News Talk 97.1.
Follow Mike on Twitter @PsychWithMike. Talk lines are open now. 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797. Now, more Psych with Mike on FM News Talk 97.1.
Welcome back into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios. This is Psych with Mike. We are talking about the NFL protest controversy and its connection to cultural sensitivity. So we've had a couple of calls. I just wanted to go back and review a couple of things. I don't believe that Clint was being intentionally deceptive, but the comment, this is why, again, you have a producer, because they make you look good even when you don't. The comments that were made that Clint had quoted were actually written in Barack Obama's book, and they were not his. He was quoting the inflammatory preacher Jeremiah Wright and was actually disagreeing with the things that he said. So it was in Barack Obama's book. The quote was in Barack Obama's book, but it wasn't, those were not Barack Obama's words. They were the words of Jeremiah Wright. And then the other thing that I wanted to say is that even though I absolutely 100% respect Clint's right to be upset about the protests that are going on, and I definitely appreciate his service to the country. Just for 100% full disclosure, I have not ever served in the military. But that being said, there are numerous stories and numerous incidents of individuals who have served in the military that actually are very much in favor and supportive of the protests that are going on in the NFL. That's why you see whole entire teams that are kneeling. There are a percentage of those individuals who have served in the military that are actually participating in this and in this protest. And actually the story on Colin Kaepernick is that he originally had sat, so producer Frank had sent me this link. So again, stuff that I put out on the website, you can follow me at Psych with Mike on Twitter, or like us on Facebook at Psych with Mike. And on Twitter and on Facebook, I put out links to a couple of stories that producer Frank had sent me through the week. And one of them is, did a U.S. veteran influence Kaepernick's Take a Knee protest of police brutality? And so the story is that Colin Kaepernick decided that he wanted to protest. He was going to to sit for the national anthem, and he did. And there was another guy, Nate Boyer, who was on the team, who was a former Green Beret, and he wasn't going to make the squad. He wasn't good enough to make an NFL roster, but he was good enough to be in the training camp and to make it through preseason. And so this guy was a former retired Green Beret. He didn't like what Kaepernick was doing and actually had several conversations with Kaepernick, and that is how this whole thing evolved from Kaepernick sitting to Kaepernick kneeling. So they had a conversation, which is what I am proposing that we be able to do, where Nate Boyer was able to say to Colin Kaepernick, I really don't like you sitting. It's disrespectful to me. And Kaepernick said to him, hey, I don't mean to be disrespectful. So, but at the same time, I feel like it's really important for me to protest what I view as police brutality against individuals of color. What kind of compromise could we have? And so Nate Boyer was the guy who said, look, in the military, when we want to show respect, we kneel. So when we go to a service check, we kneel. When we have a wounded comrade, we kneel. When, we are in a position to show respect to someone else, we kneel. That is what we do in the military. And so they had a conversation where they agreed that kneeling was a sign of respect. And that is why this evolved into a kneel instead of a sitting on the bench. So, again, anybody has the right to disagree with Kaepernick, and obviously Kaepernick's not doing it anymore because he's not in the NFL, but have the right to protest anybody kneeling or be upset about anybody kneeling during the national anthem. But that's the actual story of how it happened, is that it was a dialogue between a former Green Beret and the man who started the protest movement, which has now expanded to hundreds of individuals in the NFL from almost every single team that is playing football. So let's talk to Jim. Hello, Jim. How are you?
Hey, good evening. I'm doing well. I wanted to, first time I've heard your show, I'm glad I caught on to you. Wanted to bring up geographic regions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you or any listeners remember an episode of Seinfeld where George was working for the baseball team, and people from Texas came up, and they were all that SOB and this and that. And I spent 15 years down in Texas, and that was just standard slang, lingo, just as you said. People come into your office and you throw around the N-word. That's their standard slang. Down there, you could give somebody the finger, one of your friends or something, and then laugh it off, whatever. Ha, ha, ha.
Mm-hmm.
Geographically, everything is different. When I moved back here to St. Louis, and I said that one time, and it happened to be a gentleman from South St. Louis, I said, oh, that's SOB.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, he took offense like he was ready to duke it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no. So people, the word is not always used for its actual meaning.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that you make a great point, Jim, and it's not just whether or not an individual comes from a specific geographic area, but it can even be just your upbringing, the home that you were raised in can have a tremendous impact on what you find offensive and what you don't. So everybody has the right to be able to say, this is something that I'm uncomfortable with. Now, does that mean that all the rest of us have to change what we do just because a single person is uncomfortable? I'm not saying that, and I don't believe that. I go back to what, an earlier caller, Wade, had talked about, is that I do think that it would be great if we could come to some kind of agreement or at least an expectation of some kind of at least minimum requirement of etiquette. But the truth is that what an individual finds offensive can be geographically created or can just be created by the family of origin that they grew up in.
Right. And that was all week long I've been listening to this. So really, President Trump's term, that didn't, I just It was just I truly don't believe he was calling every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the best one I could attribute to is, like I said, that episode of Seinfeld. It was I said that whole thing. Everybody there found it so offensive,
Mm-hmm.
but yet it was just standard for someone from a different area. And
well, I
really
agree
all
with
I
you
wanted
that
to
he wasn't calling all of them SOBs. I interpreted that, and again, I haven't had a conversation with the president. If he wants to talk to me, I'd be more than happy to take his call. But what I was upset about, what I am upset about, is not that he even said the term or made the statement, but that once it was presented to him that it could be offensive, that instead of backing off of it and apologizing, that he doubled down on it.
Okay, I see where you're coming from on that. Yeah, he said, "Oh, if he would have come back and said, well, I grew up that way, or that's where I come from," and
right. Oh, he didn't even have to do that. He could just say, you know what? I recognize that you have the right to be offended. That wasn't my intention, and I'm not going to do that in the future. And
right. Where birth is, and I'm sorry, I've been in the NFL fan since I was 6 years old. I have a son on a 4-year football scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Odell Beckham, what he did,
mm-hmm.
that should be offensive to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Okay. Like you just said, each individual has.
Mm-hmm.
What is your opinion on that one? Did that not cross the line?
I didn't like it. Yeah, but there's have been a lot of things that have happened in the NFL that I don't like, and what I believe, what I tell people is that these are individuals who are oftentimes extremely emotionally immature. They're just kids. They're making millions of dollars to play a game, and sometimes they act irresponsibly. And my hope would be that there would be somebody there to say, look, this is inappropriate and you need to learn from this. But oftentimes there isn't, because everybody who's around them is just a yes man, because these individuals make so much money, and a lot of times that influences the kind of direction that people are willing to give in these individuals. Thank you very much, Jim, for your comments. I appreciate you listening. Okay, so we are going to just about be done. Before we do, let's just say hello to Sarah. Hello, Sarah.
Hi.
How are you?
Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, you're welcome.
I have a comment or question. There is a black officer out of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Was recently interviewed by Brian Kilmeade, I believe. His name is Brandon Tatum, and I think he raised some fair points in that his experience as an officer, that someone's perception of being a victim is psychological. So he made some points such as, just because someone looks at you a certain way doesn't mean that they're racist, or just because somebody does this, it doesn't mean they're racist. So it was his argument that, yes, there is some racism, but that's more isolated cases, whereas sometimes it just might be a psychological reaction. So I'm just kind of curious what you think about that statement.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I think that Sarah is 100% right. I think most of it is probably psychological. Now, I don't know that I would give a percentage to it, but it's all because everybody's perception is their reality. So you are going to have a reality based on what your perceptions are, which is very much mediated by the things that you believe and the way that you've been raised. So that is all going to play a role in your perception of whether you're a victim or not. And I talk about this in therapy all the time. So we actually are out of time. I apologize for that. We could have done this for 5 hours, I feel like. I appreciate everybody who participated in the show tonight. I assumed that this was going to be something that people were going to have opinions about. So I thank everybody for being a part of the show. I hope this was educational for the people that are listening. If you want to like me on Facebook at Psych with Mike, you can follow me on Twitter at Psych with Mike. If it's 8 p.m., if it is Saturday night, it is Psych with Mike. See you next week.
Follow Mike on Twitter at Psych with Mike.
It's Royal Gate's Red Tagged and Ready sales event. The area's largest Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram inventory is being red tagged with incredible deals. 1,000 total vehicles. Deeper discounts? Grab the tag. 0%? Just grab the tag. Top tier trade cash? You know what to do. We compete and will beat any other dealer on a new vehicle. Plus, at RoyalGateCars.com, you can get instant credit approval and set your monthly payment. Now's the time to get deeper discounts, 0%, and top tier trade cash. All you have to do is grab the tag. Come see why we're #1 for all the right reasons. 2 Royal Gate locations, Manchester Road in Ellisville and in Columbia, Illinois, just 5 minutes from South County. Or online at RoyalGateCars.com.
Royal Gate, the driving force.
For your convenience, Royal Gate has extended service hours with full service on Saturdays. A Ram Power Days event. Rate, term, and down payment will vary with approved credit. Negative equity added to new contract based on combined inventory. Combined MWBC year-to-date 2017 sales report.
Hey everybody, this is Phil with the Range St. Louis West. All firearm and personal protection training is not created equal. It's not where you get training that matters most, it's who you are trained by. The Range St. Louis West has the most qualified trainers in the area, including active and prior law enforcement, military, first responders, professional shooters, and NRA instructors. Get trained by the true experts at the Range St. Louis in Baldwin. To see our list of training courses, visit us at therangestl.com. That's therangestl.com. Are you ready?
Hey, at our startup, my team and I move at the speed of tech 24/7. Bottom line, I just want the news that matters. So I turn to my local radio and TV stations. I want to hear from people who live and work in my town, people I know and trust. For the best entertainment, sports, news, weather, and traffic, anytime, anywhere, I stay local. Support your local stations. Text RADIO to 52886. Furnished by the NAB and this station. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out.
KFTK FM, Florissant, KFTK AM East St. Louis, K254CR St. Louis.
Powered by thehomeloanexpert.com.
FM News Talk 97.1.
A Twitter war over disaster aid to Puerto Rico. I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News. Federal aid is starting to flow into the hurricane-ravaged island of Puerto Rico just as a